Hi guys, welcome back to the Christ Me podcast. My name is Christina, your host, and today I have two very special guests, Alyssa and Alex.
Hi.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
Well, thank you guys for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, which is mental health. And I know that this is going to be posted on Easter. I wanted to do an Easter episode, but I'm going to wait for that for my Greek Easter when it approaches. So today I want to talk about mental health because, especially during the holidays, mental health can be very, very low for a lot of people. So we're going to dive into it basically. So we're going to talk about, I guess anxiety. Has any of you ever experienced anxiety?
Well, I know a lot of people experience anxiety naturally because events and stuff like that lets you perform or do certain stuff that make you feel uncomfortable. You get anxiety naturally, so anxiety can just happen naturally, but in terms of strong anxiety that can actually lead to more problems, I've had, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have. I don't know about
Depends
you.
situation.
Yeah.
Depends the context, what you're going through in life.
Exactly.
I feel like anxiety, it's not talked about to the extent that it's supposed to. I mean, a lot of people think that it's just, I guess, nervous, people say it's nervousness, but it really is sometimes it makes your whole body tremble. And it's it really is something serious. And I feel like we don't know how to deal with it because it's not talked to the point where people know how to deal with it,
Well, here's the way I see it. I feel like it's just good for us as humans because anxiety teaches us normally how to approach situations, how to become comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and learn how to be ourselves. So it all plays into effect on growing as a person, and I feel like that's what anxiety is there for.
I love that you said that because honestly, it really does grow you as a person because you learn the things that actually trigger that anxiety and you learn how to cope with them, right? So I guess growing as a person, when you're actually able to cope properly with what triggers you the most, it's it's growth. It is.
Well, it also shows you where your weak points are and where you have to perform best. Let's say you're uncomfortable in front of stages, in front of thousands of people. You can grow as a person. You understand that it's your weak point, and you can understand how to learn from it and perform at your best in those situations. Sometimes you could perform even better than when you are in comfortable positions.
But I feel like at the same time, it depends on the person. Like, for example, performing. What if something did happen in a situation where you have to perform and then you're anxious because of it, and that could affect you for future performances, either presenting school project, dance recital, tournaments, games, because it could be traumatic. Depending.
I would just see that more as trauma instead of anxiety because
I feel like it plays.
It plays, but you can either do two things: either be afraid of it and hope it never happens again, or try to avoid it as much as possible, or learn from it, grow from it, try to maybe improve that situation. Or if it wasn't physical, if it was mental, you could try to improve, grow from it, and learn from it, become a better person, become more outgoing, doing that, improving yourself as who you are.
Yeah. I think also when it comes to anxiety or mental health in general, God, putting God in it, for example, is really a strong thing to do for yourself because you can cast all of your anxiety on Him, all of your fears on Him, and He'll just take care of it for you. He's just there to reassure you about certain things where it's something would, I don't know, trigger your anxiety to arise, and then God will be no, I'm here, just focus on me, focus on what I'm telling you, and stop focusing on what your mind is telling you,
In a different way, I agree with that because everything happens for a reason,
mm-hmm.
and that could be a part of the whole plan, how life plays out.
Of course.
Because that one thing that could have happened when you were a child could affect good or bad, hopefully good, things to happen in the future because of that one experience.
Yeah, of course. I agree 100% with that because, our plan for our life, what is meant to be is what God has set out for us to achieve in a way. All of He had written our book of life for us. So when he, I guess when He puts different types of struggles on us, especially when it comes to mental health, it's because He truly wants us to put us in a state where we could rely on Him and not on the things that we know of. Whatever triggered us in the past or how we grew up or anything that would trigger the mental health, to come about. God wants us to come to him in the end of the day and just be like, okay, like I just want to put all my anxieties and my fears on you and just take care of the situation for me, like don't let me worry. Like I know you have me in your hands because he ultimately has a plan for our life,
I agree with that, and I agree that you can use God as a safety cushion, if that makes sense. But he also likes for his people to improve themselves and not rely on him, but also not rely on him so they can improve themselves as individuals instead of as him and the individual. So obviously, if you want to rely on him and if you want to fall back, you always can. But if you want to be out there, if you want to take a step forward, you're going to have to take the initiative and hope he helps you with it. If it's a bad idea, if it's something he doesn't want you doing, he will let you know in that process, and then you will learn a lesson and know not to do it again.
I do understand where you're coming from, but from my perspective, I disagree. I mean, I'm more of like, I can't do this life without God by my side. Like he truly is the person that I rely on the most. And I don't see myself relying on my own understanding or my own mindset. Like I feel like my mind just plays so much games on me. Like that's where the enemy comes in and just like tells me all the things that he wants me to hear. And then like when I go to God, it's like, it's just so much an amount of peace that he gives me. And I'm just like, I can't do this life without him. Like I just need him there. And I feel like as a father, like he wants us to rely on him. He wants us to go to him and be like, okay, I need you. And he puts us where we are at this very moment. Like he meets us where we're at and he will always guide us further, and he will always be there in the sense where no matter what you're feeling on the inside, he's going to be like, child, it's okay. Like just trust me and go walk in faith,
I understand that because, like, in the sense that when your mind's playing, because the very stuff where your mind's playing tricks on you, sometimes you don't know whether to trust your instincts or not. So to know, like, there's someone you could, like, not behind you, but like back up.
Yeah.
To rely on. For me, it's like my mother, because my mother is the first person I go to when something's wrong or something's good, because it's just me, and my mom at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's my person that I automatically think of to rely on to make sure I'm feeling this way. How do you
your mom makes you feel a certain way that others
my mom
don't.
is how the same view you have about God being there is the same thing for my mother and me. So like I understand when everything seems to be low, like you have that person
you can rely on. Of course, I agree with both of you, and I understand where you guys are both coming from, and I agree with it 100%. I just see it as when you try to make decisions in life, with or without God, if it's a bad decision, he will give you a slap on the wrist. He'll tell you, go back, restart, do it properly again. And there's going to be a sign, exactly. And that's what I was trying to say before. Maybe it wasn't as clear, but that's the way I see it. You try to make a decision, you try to be independent. He doesn't like it. He'll give you a slap on the wrist. He'll say, back up, take a step back, calm down, and move forward with this way or change idea. There's always two paths.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, the thing is that it's all trial and error. Everything that we go through, especially in our mind, it's all trial and error because we can't distinguish sometimes the voice between who's really talking, like if it's God talking to us or if it's ourselves talking to us. Like we really don't know sometimes. So of course it's trial and error and you got to live and learn. And that's why God's there to actually like be like, okay, you did a mistake. Come back to me and let's start again. Of course. And I love what you said about your mother as well, because God uses people to actually, God moves through people to be a vessel towards others, right? And I feel like your mother is mainly a blessing to you, where, she's used by God to really be there for you and really be a good mother figure towards you. And I feel like a lot of people out there actually probably don't have that. And I'm pretty sure like a lot of people pray for that.
Honestly, I'm really lucky because there's so many times, especially with school, because my program, everyone thinks it's easy, CCE, you're with children all day, but the work that goes into it, the amount of online courses to get your certificate to be certified, do certain things. I did my CPR test. I failed. I was crying my eyes out. And my mom was there, and she wasn't like, no, you'll do fine next time. She was honest. She's like, look, you'll study. If you pass, great. If you don't, you could take it again. Yeah, how old? I was 18. You're only 18. You're passing everything. If you have to go back and do it again, it's okay. So she was being supportive, but she was being like reasonably supportive, not, oh, you deserve to pass. Oh, they graded you wrong. You're going to do great next time. She was reasonable, and I need that because I can't always have someone be like, no, you are 100% fine. There's nothing wrong. It's all that. It's good to have that.
Well, that's the thing about, that's the definition of like pride and ego, where it's like, oh, well, I did the best. I deserve the best. And it's not the reality of it. You know, like the reality of it is like that we're actually not, we're supposed to be so humble to the point that like we failed multiple times and we got to get back up again and again and again, you know, and I feel like we are taught that in this lifetime, and it makes us humble ourselves. It really does. And it's to the point where when we humble ourselves, that's when we're able to actually ask for help and go to people and like ask for advice, or I don't know, a way of just kind of getting out of a certain situation, you know?
I feel like that's when I learn the most, because a lot of people aren't humble, a lot of people are arrogant, they have big egos. And with that, there are positives and negatives, obviously, but you can't learn much with having a big pride and a big ego. I feel like when you're humble, you learn the most, you're calm most of the time, and you always take your time, take a step back, and really just analyze what you're going through and how to improve it, how to improve your situation naturally. And a lot of people lack that, unfortunately.
I agree.
That's true. When people have a big ego, it's like me. Everything I say is right. Everything I'm doing is right. But that's not always true. Some things you do could be right, like definition wise, theory wise, it might be right. But if you have that mindset that everything's about you, then that could really mess up how you are with other people too. Always being that person who can't admit when they're wrong, and then one thing leads to another, and your consequences will speak loud for your actions.
Of course, because you don't have a room for correction. And the thing is, especially like, I'm going to bring back God into this, but like, especially with God, it's like, he wants to correct you. Like, you know, like Alex was saying before, is that he will come in and be like, you did this wrong. Let's do it again. And that's, you know, you need a room for that. Like, you need God to come in and actually say that. And you gotta be ready to be like, okay, yes, I agree. I made a mistake on this. I need to correct myself. And if you have pride and ego, you have no room for that.
Because you can only change when you're ready to change.
Exactly. Not just that. If you can't learn, if you don't want to learn, you can only teach those who want to be taught. You can never teach someone who doesn't want to be taught. You can only teach someone who wants to be taught, who wants to learn and wants to improve themselves or improve with others. So that's the way I see it. You can only teach those who want to be taught. And you see this everywhere with a lot of people. You try to explain something, some people will sit down, listen to you, and understand the situation, or others will just argue with you, say, no, you're wrong, this and that, and won't want to learn.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like when that kind of situation happens, it's like people put themselves in isolation where, especially when it comes to mental health, like they think that they can handle things on their own. Like they can handle their anxiety on their own or their depression on their own. But it's not the reality of it. Like, we're not supposed to be not experiencing, but like, we're not supposed to be handling this on our own. Like, we have to actually speak out about it and like really be like, no, like I feel depressed or feeling anxious, you know? And when someone tries to take it into their own hands, it just leads them into a downward spiral, I find.
I feel like there's a stereotype too for people who suffer with anxiety, depression. Some people who come out to others to try to talk about. Some people think, "Oh, you're not really depressed. You're just sad. You're not anxious. You're nervous." Or maybe it's like for attention. Oh, so many times have I heard for the attention.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so wrong as well. I mean, it's to the point where it's like people downplay others' emotions.
Make themselves sound like, oh, this person has it harder than you. You shouldn't feel bad, not feel bad. Why would you feel this way when other people are going through this and they don't feel like that? It's like, I feel like everyone's emotions are compared to others, And even sometimes we start to like believe that, and then like, yeah, you're right, my problems aren't as bad as theirs, maybe. We don't know. It depends on the person, depends what they're going through from the past, depends their mindset. Everyone thinks differently, everyone experiences things differently, and that's how it affects us.
I agree.
I can also say that you can only make yourself who you want to be. God will give you everything you want, but if you think something of yourself, He will make that you. Does that make sense?
Not necessarily. I mean, in my last episode, like I was talking about the power of the tongue, where there's certain things that we declare over our lives that we're not meant to. You know, like we declare negativity, and that affects our mental health. Like that puts us down to the point that we get depressed. And then God will come in and be like, no, declare my word over your life. And when you declare that over your life, that is the person that you end up becoming. And that's the person that God wants you to become. And it's not the words that are negative. It's actually all positive. You know?
Well, here's one thing that I've heard before, and you can always think something of yourself, and people will listen to you, but there's always two people on the phone. Like there's always two people on the phone listening to you, and your wishes will come true regardless of who's listening. One person will think down on you, one person will think highly of you. If you think yourself as down, you're giving more power to the person who's beneath you. Yeah. If you tell yourself that you're gonna be okay, you're gonna get through it, and you're gonna help yourself, the person that is above you will help you improve.
Look, I'm gonna say something like when you pray to God, if you're praying out loud, God is listening, but so is the devil. And the devil will always counter argument whatever you're saying to God. He will always come up with these lies or these negative comments to get at you and be like, well, you prayed to God about this, but this is not going to happen. This is going to happen, etc. And it's like you said, like two people are on the phone. And that's why you have to also distinguish the voice in your head sometimes, you know, when it comes to anxiety, depression, and you have those thoughts in your mind, like those negative thoughts. You gotta know that that's not from God. God will only be positive. And once you start distinguishing those voices, then you'll only have one person on the phone. You're only going to have a direct line to God. And you won't have the enemy really coming in. Like he will try, of course. Yeah, the devil himself will try, of course, to come in and be like, oh, well, then here's another negative comment. But then when you actually have the direct line to God, you're going to be like, no, God said this about me. You're lying. You know?
I like putting God underneath positivity and the devil underneath negativity. So even though positive things are going on in your life, some people might always think it's too good to be true. Yeah. Something bad bound to happen to equal it out.
Yeah.
So that's how I.
Yeah, but the worst part is that's why, like, we have, even though we could declare so much positivity over our life, there's other people out there that don't want the best for us. And yeah, and they declare negativity over our life. And that's why we go through ups and downs, right? That's why there's those moments where it's like everything could feel so good, like we're on top of the mountain. And all of a sudden something just happens. You're like, how did this happen? And sometimes you have to watch either your circle or people from, I don't know, the past, or maybe some people that would just declare something, look at your life, you know, either on social media or anywhere, and just be like, oh, well, it's too good, her life. Let me just put a bit of negativity in there, you know?
Like the evil eye. When you're envious of someone, that it's like bad energy towards them.
Well, I also see it as you can either steep down to, you can only be as bad as someone or as good as someone with what you want to become. So you can only be as bad as the devil if you really believe in it, or you can only really be as good as God if you really believe in it. So you're in the middle of two people, and both of those people are trying to pull you towards them, but your beliefs are going to make whoever stronger.
Of course. But it really is all about believing in the end of the day, you know, because if you believe a certain word about yourself, whether it's negative or positive, that affects you.
That person's going to take it from you.
That person. And you know what? The funny thing that you said about the evil eye, like, that is true witchcraft in this day and age, where it's like people will truly perform evilness upon others with that. It's insane.
Satanist cults out there trying to always do spiritual stuff, bring out the word of the evil, instead of the word of God.
Yeah.
And they will try to inflict others and hurt others, or prey upon the evil to, what was I going to say? Prey upon evil to hurt.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why, like, when it comes to mental health, we have a lot of spiritual warfare going on. Like, spiritual warfare, it's like, it really is like the devil and God, like, fighting in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
The little devil on one shoulder and God on the other. Like, the devil and the angel
Yeah, exactly.
talking in each ear.
It's what you want to become. It's
Yeah.
essentially that. You want to become a good person. You want to help others. You want to have fun in life. You want to enjoy yourself. You can always call upon God. He will make you a good person. He will help you improve. He will bring you to the right people. If you bring yourself towards negativity, if you bring yourself towards evilness, you will be with those evil people. You will talk to those evil people. Whatever you want to believe in, God will give it to you. He will push you towards whatever you want good in your life, and the devil will push whatever you want negative in your life. That's why I really believe whatever you think is whatever you're gonna get.
Of course. And I was living in that. I was living in the part where I was surrounded by negativity, like whether it was alcohol or partying or, just friends that were just not wanting the best, bad social groups. It was just, I was around that a lot, and I find I had an absence of the positivity, an absence of God. And I was pulled into a depression because of all the negativity. And then that moment where Jesus came to me and was like, come to me, that moment where he gave me peace, he transformed my life 360. Like I went from negative to positive in not even a year. And it was insane. Like that depression that I had, it wasn't even called depression. It was called rejection of, I guess, the void that I was having from certain issues that I was going through. And Jesus was like, no, let me love you. Let me fill that void for you. And that's exactly what happened.
It was like a missing part of you.
Yeah.
He was the part that like made you whole.
Yeah. Yeah. He cured my depression. I mean, I do have anxiety still because I have like that spiritual warfare going on.
That is,
But it's normal. It's normal.
Yeah, it's never going to go away. It's always going to be there in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could say God's always going to be there in different forms. You find the right people, you're going to pull yourself towards God. Like, you're going to understand who are the good people in your life and the bad people in your life. And there's so many people I'm grateful to have met because they've either taught me various lessons or they've only brought me good to my life.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to have met everybody in my life. And I wouldn't necessarily say, everybody was good. A lot of people were bad, but I'm really grateful to have met them because they would have never taught me a certain lesson in the same way.
trial and error.
Trial and error. You live and you learn.
Exactly.
But I don't think anyone could ever no matter how perfect everything is, no matter what you believe in, no one's ever not going to go through anxiety.
Of course.
It's sad too at the same time, but it's not, this isn't paradise.
Yeah, no.
This isn't Adam and Eve. The whole point of this now is that this isn't paradise and we're not supposed to have everything be perfect. And it's only normal. And sometimes it can make or break you. Depends the person, depends what you believe in. But
it depends how you want to turn out.
We all want to hear it's going to be okay. And eventually, yes, but to get there, you're going to go through so much more people than others.
Of course.
Different situations that it happens.
But the thing is, people say oh, anxiety is such a new age thing. No, anxiety's been around forever. Jesus himself had anxiety before going to the cross. If Jesus himself, who was a perfect living God, had anxiety, what makes anyone think that we can't, we're not going to have it? Of course we're going to have it, because even when it comes to our journey with our faith, any kind of faith, whatever we believe in, we're always going to have that anxiety to take that next step to be obedient and kind of, I guess, grow into something else, or, venture out into a new project. We're going to have anxiety to do that, and because, especially when it takes it to your higher self, it brings a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelming, because
negative emotions, because, the enemy doesn't want you to grow, doesn't want you to be higher. He wants you to stay where you're at or even be lower, And then God, when he's trying to pull you to your next level and increase your faith or bring you to a new purpose, it's you're going to have that anxiety going into it for sure, because it's unknown. And a lot of people, I feel, have fear of the unknown, We don't know what's next. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That is something really scary, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't really have, no matter the pending, you don't have that reassurance. Even if you do have it, you also have in your head, is this what I believe?
Yeah.
Is this what I know that's going to happen? Is this really going to happen?
Yeah. You don't have that reassurance. And I feel like bringing God into your mental health issues gives you that reassurance.
Mhm.
Because when you have faith with God or faith with Jesus, like you're able to just kind of walk with him and just be obedient to wherever he leads you. You know, even like me with this podcast, like he was the one that put in my heart. I had so much anxiety coming into this podcast. Like I didn't want to start it. I was to the point I was going to cancel all my equipment and just like not start it, not go ahead with it. And then it's like, I was focusing on too much the negativity of what the enemy was trying to put into my mind. I was getting so much anxiety. I'll be like, no, I'm too overwhelmed. I'm too stressed. It's not worth it. And then God came to me and was like, no, it is worth it. This is what I want you to do. Be obedient. And that's exactly what happened. I took that leap of faith and I ended up where I am right now. And it's been amazing.
I also see it as you always have to have a bit of belief. You give a bit of belief in something, you are giving it a lot more power than you realistically think. Even though it's not short term, long term, you are giving it a lot more power than you originally.
Mhm.
If you were, let's say, in a mental state where mentally you had anxiety, you had stress, you had everything you could possibly think of, you have a bit of faith, you will just start doing things you don't normally do. You'll start improving yourself with subconsciously, and you won't even realize it. Then you question yourself after. You're like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? And then you realize you're doing it for yourself to improve yourself, whether it be physically, whether it be mentally, whether it be in any form. You're always going to improve yourself subconsciously, just as long as you have a bit of belief.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to push yourself. And then once you get to a certain level and you really enjoy it, you're only going to want to get better and better.
Kind of like learning to appreciate yourself in a sense. Because like that belief could also be part of it, believing in yourself. And that's why you're like, I'm doing this for me. Wait, who am I doing this for? It should be for yourself. You shouldn't be changing who you are or what you do or what you believe in for anyone else except for yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people learn that the hard way. And unfortunately, myself, I'm different. I've learned everything that I've done in my life the hard way. Nothing in life for anybody comes easy. Regardless, nothing comes for free. Regardless if you see it or not, nothing comes for free. Always gonna be hard. It's always gonna have a challenge. Now, the challenge might be easier for others, harder for others. But the point is to have a challenge, to know how to learn from it. Some people might be ready, some people might not. So you can push yourself whichever direction you want, and you can tell yourself a certain thing, and you will improve naturally.
I agree. You just need that leap of faith. You need that belief that things will be okay in the end, no matter what direction you're heading. And I mean, for me, like I just rely on, it doesn't have to be for you guys either, but for me, like I just rely on God and I'm just like, just take me where you need me to go. And I just follow him and that is it.
He's someone you trust.
Yeah, definitely.
That's always good, having someone you could trust. Even physically as a person, there aren't many people I trust. Back then, I would say I trust a lot more people because I didn't know. But now, I limit myself to certain people only. And I don't talk to many other people because I only trust a certain amount of people and I don't want to meet new people due to the fact that I don't want to gain their trust and then they just leave me.
Yeah.
Some people are different though. Like, some people keep going through it over and over and over again and they'll still, like, in high school, did not have good friends. Well, a certain friend. Not good. College, when I went to the college I was before now, they were so amazing, but then I had to leave. At this new one, there's just some people who are so, I don't know the word to your face, they're nice, but then behind closed doors,
they're fake.
Seriously, I've heard people from my group say things about me I would thought I'd never hear. I'm like, I've been with you guys for 2 years. I've never done anything like negative to or say anything bad to like hurt your feelings. Why are you doing that? But I'm still gonna trust the next person that comes along because they're not them. These next people are not, they might be negative, they might not be, but why should I risk it and like not give them a chance?
No, for sure. I mean, I feel like we gotta be kind to others. We have to have an open heart. I mean, you can't just reject someone if you feel like they have bad energy. Like, you gotta learn for yourself. You know, you live and you learn, like we were saying before. In the end of the day, it's like, if you have that heart to love everybody, do so. And then whoever betrays you, that's on them. They will be judged for it in the day. And in the end, it's like, you just gotta give a love and kindness from your own heart. And whatever happens, happens.
Well, one thing I also have to say is, let's say afterward you learn who's good and who's bad. Naturally, you're gonna still find people who are good. Like, I'll take Alyssa as an example. Before her, I didn't want to meet any people. I just wanted the 2 or 3 friends I had. That's it. Keep it that way, and not talk to, like, I'll just not talk. I'll still talk to people, but not in a way that, you know, how can I express it? Not in a way that I'm gonna talk to them all the time and see them. Like, people I will see now here and again, and I'll say hi, I'll be friendly with them. It's not because I don't trust them, I'm just not as close to them. I don't feel a certain, like, friendship with them, if that makes sense. As with, like, let's say, like I said, Alyssa, we met obviously at work, but I don't know about her, but I feel naturally more comfortable with her, naturally more connected with her. I feel like I know she's a good person, and I know she's there. Like, I can trust her.
Yeah.
No, but
That's
like,
so nice.
I get what
No,
you mean,
sure.
because it was really easy to talk to you when I first met you.
Yeah.
Because I'm at work, I'm a nut job. I talk a lot, I'm very loud, I'm very out there, and a lot of people, not at work, but in general, don't like that.
Yeah.
Some people see it as annoying, whatever, but he embraced it. He is now annoying with me with the little squawking, little hand gestures, and the noises, and
Oh man.
you know.
Some people connect better than others, and I feel like we connect very well compared to a lot of other people.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you really need.
Like, I have close friends, my best friend of 16 years, my other best friend of 6 years, but I knew them when I was a teenager and younger, and things change, you know? So I haven't had, like, a friend that I could connect with like that in a very long time, because people change. Maybe my close friends don't like how I act, but they're like my best friends, so of course, they're gonna accept me for who I am. So, you know, he embraced my craziness. He embraced that I was like a complete nut job. And, you know, it's nice to know that even like the older I get, there's still going to be people that want to see me like that. So it's nice, and that gives me less anxiety to know that I'm not actually.
But of course, I mean, the thing is, your mental health improves with the people you have around you, whether it's family, whether it's, I don't know, colleagues, whether
Support
it's friends.
system.
Your community is everything. Like, the people you surround yourself with really take an effect on your mental health, because it's like, they are the ones that are like really, if they're positive and wanting the best for you and really wanting to like see you strive and see you like really do well mentally and physically, your mental health is going to boost. Like, you're going to be, of course, you're going to still be anxious about certain things here and there, but you're going to not be depressed. You're not going to have so much, I don't know, I guess dislikes about yourself, you know, and because you have such a community, such a support group that will actually, uplift you.
Yeah, like, you know, even if something is happening in your life where in the past it would be more anxiety, at least, you know, now it's gonna pass eventually.
Mhm.
And while that's happening, you have like people there for you, obviously, and you know that they're not there for like, some people just sit and, okay. And then they tell you what to do rather than listen to you and try to not help you with it, but help you realize things. Not by being I'm not sure if it's objective, like trying to make a statement, but help you realize different things, that there's not one possible answer, that there's other answers. That, like, it's great to have people like this, have like a support group. And it gets hard sometimes. Like, I thought high school was hard. No, college, and then extracurricular activities, what I do, sometimes even social group with other friends. It's hard, but like knowing the group you have, you have someone to back you up.
Of course.
Yeah, and I see that's how God challenges us, that's how He tests us, that's how He wants us to learn and improve. Whether you dislike it or like it, that's how He wants us to turn out.
Yeah. And I feel that's, you know, He tests that in a way like where He brings people for seasons. you know, like you would have those friends that you don't talk to, you can't, like they're from your past and you never see them at all anymore. And the reason why is because God put them in your life for a season as a lesson, and then they left. Once you learned that lesson and you set boundaries with that specific, with those, with those specific people, then he's like, okay, it's time to move on. Close that door onto a new one. And, it's crazy. It's crazy how our mental health can be really affected by almost everything. You know, the environment we live in, the people we surround ourselves with, the things that we do on a daily basis, like job, school, anything. Everything affects our mental health. And it's crazy to see. Like, I'm really happy that we actually talked about this, because like we said at the beginning, it's overlooked. And it's not that because we follow God that we're not going to have anxiety. Like, of course we will. Like I said before, we're going to have spiritual warfare, and there's times it's not going to be easy. It really isn't. But as long as you have belief and you walk in faith, your mental health will get better. You know, like your issues, you start having a direct line towards the positivity, and you cut the line of negativity.
Yeah, I agree. And that's always what you want to strive, cutting the negativity, unless people, like you were saying before, people that like have negative cults or talk evil all the time and only believe in that, then try to do rituals and whatnot to summon the evil. They only turn people evil, whether they're good or not, but they normally tend to affect more the weaker ones, and that's more of their decision whether they want to change or not. It's like an impulsive decision.
Yeah.
Do you want to change or do you not want to change? We're going to do it right now. And it's like one thing can change everything. And God obviously has a plan for you and how He wants you to turn out, but you also have to realize what you're getting yourself into at times and understand what you're going to do to solve it. Because if you don't figure out what you want to do to solve it, then it's just going to end up in you falling down, and you're not going to get up.
That's why I like to sit down with Jesus and be like, okay, what am I supposed to do right now?
Exactly.
And he'll tell me, he'll be like, okay, this is what we have to do.
It's kind of like a domino effect of where you're like one thing
falls, everything falls.
Because once one domino falls, the rest of them, and then eventually you're going to have a big, not a mess, but effects.
They won't be able to get up on their own.
Yeah.
They're just going to stay there unless they really try to push themselves to kind of, I guess you could say, grow up and get up on their own and say, now I'm on my own 2 feet, starting from scratch, and now we're just going upward from here. Not falling down, we're just going up.
Well, it's fine if you fall down as well. Like
trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
Trial and error. I mean, you know, for me specifically, when I go to God and He's like a father to me. So whenever I fall, He's just there, like, okay, get back up, let's try again. And it's just to have that as reassurance that like He's there, knowing that He'll pick me up and we'll try again. It improves already my mental state, because our mental state can be so clouded. Like we could have so many voices in our head.
By judgment.
Yeah, of course.
But one thing you said is you will fall. But the deeper you fall, the more you have to climb. And some people are just mentally incapable to climb up that high. Be able to get into a neutral zone to take themselves back up. And that's why they only worship the devil and they only do rituals towards him, because they've fallen so far down that they've just lost all hope in humanity and only believe in one thing. And that is
not necessarily. I mean, there's people that can be so down, not necessarily worship the devil, but they can be so down and so out of it, and they just need that one bit of hope. And there's so many people that they just don't know who to turn to. They don't know that there is actually a Father out there that can help them, you know. And then there's like they just kind of go with their lives, or they rely on physical people that are actually there. But we're spiritual beings. We have to rely more on the spiritual aspect of God and Jesus to actually help us through things. And if we don't, I mean, it's not for everyone. I mean, this is just my opinion. It's my own experience. But when I didn't have that, when I had the absence of God, I really was falling into the rabbit hole. It was not that I was worshiping the devil. I was just really I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I didn't know what I was doing in my head, what I was doing, physically, mentally, everything.
You hit a plateau, basically, where nothing was changing. And sometimes when people hit a plateau, you don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, exactly.
That could affect someone completely. Kind of like school, like, once you're done school, what's next? Yeah, I get a job, but where, what, do I want to do it? Yeah. Even though you've achieved something, it's like, I don't know what to do. Even though it's right in front of you, is it really something you want to do?
Yeah.
Or are you doing it because everyone says you should? Or because that's what you worked for? But even when you work for something, you're meant for so much more rather than not just that one thing.
I agree. And I feel like that's where anxiety comes in, because it's like you're not sure where you're at in your life. And then there's like, people nowadays, they expect a specific timeline of their life. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, if I don't reach this by this certain age, like you get so much anxiety from it, and you're like, oh, no, like this cannot be happening. Like I'm supposed to be here at this time and this, and I feel like when you're doing something too rushed on a specific timeline or someone else's specific timeline, like let's say when you were talking about someone is expecting something out of you and you're doing it to please them, like it's just, it brings so much anxiety and depression to your life, because deep down that's not what you want to do, or deep down that you might not be at a certain point at a certain time, and it'll put you in depression if that does happen, And I feel like when you stop kind of worrying about all of those aspects of life and just kind of focus on like your own purpose, on what you're meant to be doing, like truly from the heart, truly from God, like what He has planned for you, and you're following it, that is when you're so at peace. Like you don't feel anxious, you don't feel stressed, you don't feel depressed, like you don't feel that like you're going to work or you're going to school and that you're like, oh, I dislike this so much, and it breaks that cycle of like that you're living in a routine day after day. Mm-hmm. And it puts you at peace and puts you in a different path where it's like, okay, now I'm doing great things. I'm not doing moderate things, of this world.
Yeah. And I also see it as people who get up all the time and say, oh, I have to go to work. Not the right way to think, because you're thinking like as if it's a bad thing. If you have a family and you're saying, oh, I have to go to work, you get to go to work because you get to pay for your family. You get to give them a home, you get to give them a roof over their head, you get to give them food, you get to give them their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of it could be vocabulary too. You speak in a certain way, you're going to get a certain outcome.
Of course.
It's like the domino effect again. Like you're going to work to get money, to make money. That money can buy your kid new shoes. Those new shoes is what they need every day to buy shoes. And those are the shoes your kids are going to wear to school every day. And that's what they need, because they're not going to go barefoot,
Yeah.
It serves a purpose. Everything we do serves a purpose.
Yeah. But those kind of things add just unnecessary stress to our lives. And it brings mental health to a different aspect where like we're just anxious and worrying all the time. But I understand it's the reality of it,
I feel like you also, when, let's say you work and whatnot, you also have to really enjoy what you do, because if you're going in miserable every single day, regardless if you get to put food on the table or not, you matter as well. Like you're gonna be miserable at home. You're not gonna enjoy yourself, and regardless of how much you want to believe, it's like you're doing it to yourself in a way. You could get another job and still pay off those bills and still put food on the table and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. That's why I went into the field that I really enjoy, and I have a lot of passion for it, because it's what I truly enjoy, and that's what I would love to do for a living.
It's kind of like, there's an expression where it's like when you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, it feels like you're never working a day in your life. And that's even with where we work, that's how I feel, because yes, certain people may not enjoy it, but I certainly enjoy it, just due to the fact that different clients could grow you, different people can grow you, different managers can grow you, different workers can grow you. So that's what I enjoy, because there's a lot of growth in that kind of area, and you can always improve yourself.
I have one client that brings me candy every single week. There's another client like, you remind me of my granddaughter. I'm like, I hope that's a good thing.
That is so cute.
It is a good thing, but like the candy every week, and my favorite client, because I'm treated with respect. That's what makes me happy. Like, not the candy per se, but it's like you made my whole day because you took time and thought about me. That one like act of kindness. But like what I like for my future career, I'm gonna be working at least 9 to 10 hours a day, because it's, you know, with kids, it's around the clock care. You can't take breaks every 2 hours like what we do.
Yeah.
You gotta be with them, but it's like, you know, it makes me happy because these are the kids, these are the future. I get to nurture them, I get to hold them, I get to see them laugh, I see them cry. I'm gonna have bad days where a kid accidentally pees on me, or a kid hits another kid in the face and I have to write a report, but you know, nothing's perfect.
Of course.
But it's all worth it in the end because things change and it makes you happy.
Yeah. Things that make you happy and that you actually want to go to work and not be depressed about it. Who cares what other people think about it, you know? It's what you think about it or what God thinks about it for you.
Yeah.
I don't mind waking up 6:30 in the morning.
And yeah, I feel like when you go to work, enjoy what you do, you take care of those who you love, and it just doesn't feel like you're doing anything for the day.
I agree.
Part of your life.
And that's it, guys. Honestly, the cure to mental health, good community, God, Jesus, family, good job.
And good communication.
Good communication. Oh, that's so cute. All right, guys. So we'll see you next time on the Christ to Me pod. Thank you for Alyssa and Alex for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
It's a pleasure.
It was such a nice topic, and I loved hearing your insights about mental health as well. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.